Let's go to Katie in Dayton, Ohio. What's up, Katie?
Hi, how are you?
Outstanding. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Thanks for taking my call.
Of course, you got it. What's up?
Well, my question is, how do I forgive my husband and somewhat my in-laws for being really irresponsible with student debt, student loans? So I got married about a year and a half ago, and during the student loan pause, my husband and I thought we paid off all of his student loans. We went and applied for a mortgage recently and found out that he had about 14,000 other loans that he didn't know about. And
14,000 other loans or $14,000 in another loan?
$14,000 of student loans separate that we did not know about.
Okay.
And I know we grew up very separate, like differently. My parents were very on top of teaching me about finances and making sure I knew what I was getting into with college debt and things like that. And his parents were a lot more hands-off. And just to have these loans and not know about them is kind of beyond what I can comprehend. And so I'm really struggling with all of them just because it feels like they were very irresponsible. And now it's holding us back in ways that I wasn't expecting. And I want to forgive all of them. And I guess I'm just looking for advice on how to do that.
I have so many questions that are not really related to your question, so I won't I won't drag this whole call underwater because I know I do that sometimes. I will say this: I worked in universities for almost 2 decades before I came and joined this crew, and so it's very common for parents to take out student loans in their children's name and then use them for other things. So that may have happened. It may not even be your husband that took out a loan he just forgot about. I'll also say that it's super, super, super common for people to sign up loans to quote unquote clean off a balance sheet without ever looking at the loan amount. So what's happened in your home is it's frustratingly common. Very, very, very common that people just take out loans to pay their rent and to get out of school, and they don't look at that final number. And so for someone like you who was raised to watch what you owe very, very closely, it doesn't make any sense. Just hear me say on the other side of the ledger, this is way, way more common than you. You're the weirdo in this one, okay?
Yeah.
So let me just ask you this. Are you going to leave him?
Absolutely not.
Are you done with him? You're just like, you know what? Forget this dude. Year and a half in, he sucks. I'm on to somebody else. Are you going to leave him?
Absolutely not.
Okay. So here's what I'd recommend you do. Or let me ask you this. Are his parents bad people?
No.
Are they like going to be terrible, like in-laws whenever you have kids and all that? I mean, they're going to be just the worst?
No.
Okay. So here's what I would do. I would go out to like Lowe's or Home Depot or something, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I would buy a cinder block. Okay? It's going to be like $3 or $5 or something. You may have one laying around your house somewhere. And I want you to get a piece of masking tape or duct tape and put it across the whole cinder block. And I want you to write here, terrible financial decisions by husband and parents. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then I want you to hold that cinder block for 20 to 30 minutes without setting it down. Okay?
Okay.
It's good. After about 60 seconds, it's going to become so heavy, your hands and arms will go numb. And then after about 4 or 5 minutes, it's going to be unbearable. Okay?
Okay.
If you make 30 minutes, you're stronger than most. Okay? I'd prefer you to just carry it around with you until you just need to set it down, right? Don't injure yourself, but until you need to set it down. And then I want you to take it out in the backyard and throw it in the backyard all the way by the back fence. Or if you're in an apartment, I want you to go set it down somewhere in the woods. And I want you to rip the tape off and never pick that up again. Be done with it. Here's what you're choosing every second you don't forgive. You're opening your eyes and you're thinking, I'm going to make the next few hours intentionally miserable. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make my life worse just because it'll feel good. Can I tell you what I really think?
Yeah.
I think you're mad at yourself. that when y'all were paying this stuff off, you either didn't pull a credit report or you didn't look at the numbers right in the right way, right? Or you're mad because you have some dream of a timeline, like we're gonna do this, then we're gonna have a baby, we're gonna get a house, and I want this car, and now this has disrupted your timeline because there's $14,000 more to pay off, right? Unless it just got wiped away. Maybe it just got wiped away with the new stuff, right? So all that to say is, I think you're often our anger, like you're talking about, we're mad at ourselves, man. And I'm gonna lob that onto somebody else. You volunteered. You chose this marriage, Katie. Just be married, right?
Yeah.
Whenever I struggle with forgiving, I always. Let me say it like this. Whenever I struggle with forgiving something, usually it's because I don't want to let go of the power I hold over a situation. It's a way for me to lord over, to feel better about myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, quite honestly, have gotten to a place in my life where I don't have that energy anymore. And so I probably am too quick to forgive because I'm not carrying any more. I'm not giving anybody else real estate or rent-free space in my head, in my body. I don't have enough space in there, man. It's a cloudy, dark, messy place anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You were about to say something.
I think you're right, but I think I'm also very frustrated at his response to finding this out. Somehow he had two different accounts, one in his dad's name that he used and one in his name. And I'm not sure how that can happen, but it did. And the one in his name stopped coming out of his bank when they did the pause in March of 2020 when we were engaged, or not yet engaged. And then since it just stopped coming out of his account when we got married, and he switched banks and he just completely forgot about it. So I guess I'm disappointed that he could be that irresponsible, and then disappointed that he hasn't shown a lot of ambition since we found out early last week about this, because, you know, I've been trying to straighten out things with his credit, and it's a nightmare of getting this person on the phone and that person on the phone and waiting on hold. And if he doesn't get someone in 5 minutes, he just wants to hang up. And
okay, hey, listen.
I feel like, why is this my problem to clean up?
There you go.
Because you're not doing it.
Yes. And you know what you've become in short order? You've become his mom.
Mm-hmm. And I tell him I don't want it to be like that.
I know, but you tell him you don't want it to.
He doesn't either, and I know that.
You tell him you don't want it to be like that, and then you go act like it.
Mm-hmm.
Quit being his mom. And here's the conversation. When you won't clean up this mess, I'm registering that as you don't care about our financial safety. You don't care enough about me.
I tell him that, and he just shuts down, and then I feel awful, and he feels awful.
No, he's acting like a child. That's a childish response. That's immature. Well, that I'm just the worst husband ever, and I just suck at everything, no, I'm not going to have that. Solve the problem. The problem is we found $14,000 more. He's probably really ashamed and embarrassed.
Mm-hmm. And I'm disappointed, but I don't want him to feel that.
You can't be his mom, Katie. You get to be disappointed. You should be. You know what else I think you are? Terrified. That you married a guy who thinks so little of you that he won't go get the counseling that he needs, that he won't do the work that he needs to stand up and stop feeding his shame with secrets and negative self-talk and inactivity and inaction, that you've married somebody who's so undisciplined and unwilling to learn new things. I think your body's terrified of the next 65 years, is what I think. Am I right or wrong?
I do sometimes feel like I can't trust him to lead our family and be the man that he wants to be and that I want him to be.
Yes. Have you said that to him?
Yes.
Okay. Your next step, my sister, is to go see somebody. Your marriage is in more trouble than you think it is. Because here's what happens next. Shame, as the great Brene Brown says, shame eats secrets for breakfast. The engagements between you two, when you say, hey, have you dealt with your mess that you brought to this marriage that's now our mess? Have you made that call? Well, I called for 5 minutes and and you say, am I not worth 5 more minutes of your time? And then he shuts down. And then that leads to a culture of secrecy where he just doesn't tell you stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that leads to more video games and more time online and more Netflix and more pornography and more. Now we're down the road. Am I on the right track?
Yeah.
And then
not pornography, I'll say that.
Oh, that you know of, Katie, that you know of. It's like 90-something% of men. And then you have to create another world where you can exist, where bills actually get paid in the real world, where people have difficult conversations with other people. And that is the breeding ground for resentment. When you wake up and you think, I'm going to do this just because it's going to annoy him. Or he wakes up and says, she's already created her own world. What does she even care? I'm just going to do this because she didn't even care about me. And that's resentment. And y'all are heading there faster than you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so the beautiful thing is, you're brilliant. I can tell. And I think he can get there with some coaching and with some compassion and some love. He also was probably going to need a kick in the booty or two. Okay? Not literally. Like, don't actually kick him, but do what?
Do you think you need to find like a marriage counselor?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or go separately?
Stat. You need a marriage counselor ASAP.
Okay.
Okay. He will probably end up in his own. He's probably got some stuff from home. If I'm a betting man, I would probably bet that dad may have used some of that money. He may have taken out a loan of his own in some shape, form, or fashion. It's very, very common that happens. Or some sort of parent plus loan situation where mom and dad take out a loan that is supposed to go to tuition. Who knows? Who knows? All that said, carrying around the anger about the past decisions that they made is a waste of your energy. What you need to be invested in is saying, okay, these things happened and these character traits have emerged. You, Katie, are becoming somebody you don't want to be. You don't want to be your husband's mom, right? Nobody wants to have sex with their son. That's gross. It's weird, right? And nobody wants to make out with their mother, right? I don't want this in my home. You are also becoming distrustful, which means you're going to start keeping things to yourself or just doing things on your own or talking to people at work, maybe even that guy who's hilarious and he thinks you're pretty. You are becoming somebody you don't want to be. And you are seeing traits in him that you don't want to be attached to, yet you said for better or worse, so here we are. And so we're going to go to marriage counselor and we're going to learn new ways of interacting with one another and with ourselves. And we're going to do this 1.5 years in. You could end up decades ahead of most of the couples in your life if y'all go do the hard work right now. Okay?
Okay.
He's going to have to learn to not shut down every time somebody calls him on the carpet. He's going to have to learn to do hard things. You're going to have to learn to hold your boundaries and not be responsible for how everybody else feels because you've been a peacemaker most of your life. Okay?
Okay.
Think of these not as character defects. Think of these as new skills that y'all have to learn because neither of y'all have ever been married before, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So we're learning new things moving forward. What I will tell you, as you're learning new things and you're taking off running in a new direction, carry as few bricks with you as possible. Set down the old crap, man. Your parents weren't perfect. His weren't either. Guaranteed. Often they were less than perfect. Cool. I'm going to own it. They were. I'm not carrying their stuff anymore. I got enough of my own to carry. And the lighter the load is when y'all take off into the woods, carving a brand new path together, the easier that trip will be. And by the way, the trip's not easy. And let me go ahead and answer this because this is going to come up on the YouTube comments. Katie, if he says, I'm not going to marriage counseling with you, I refuse to go, I don't need to go, you can't make him. I'll be heartbroken for both of you, but you can't make him. At that point, you've got to decide, I'm going to go on my own, because you need to learn some new things because you don't like who you're becoming. Never forget this one important thing. You get to choose. You get to choose. You get to choose.